Hey, it's Ayla, and you are listening to Not That Kind of CEO. Today, I am single handedly going to solve the problem of showing up inconsistently online. So, if that's something that you're struggling with too, well, stick around for the entire episode, I would say.
Hi, I'm Ayla, and I am not that kind of CEO. You won't find me in a fancy corner office, but rather in a quiet corner of my home. I followed a bold vision and built my life and business around it. That's how I ended up in France, where I'm raising two little girls, renovate our 500-year-old castle together with my husband, run a coaching business, and still have space to breathe. After a decade of helping women simplify their business to make room for what matters most, I created this show to help you do the same. Let's build your business around the life you love. Welcome to Not That Kind of CEO.
Hey, love, welcome back to the show. I'm so happy that you are here. I have been, well, MIA, out of office for a while. Fell from my horse and I broke my fingers and I had a concussion and my horse actually stepped on my leg. Nothing was broken there, but I now see why people say that it's actually easier to have a clean break than to have a big bruising because it still hurts. And it was gross as well because my whole leg turned blue and then apparently gravity is a thing. And so the entire blueness just dropped into my foot and well, my leg looked like a zombie leg. That's basically when I looked at it, I was like, that's a pretty color of greenish, yellow, blue, purple. Yeah. I especially it's probably especially the head. Like that makes a lot of sense. Also, I couldn't type. I was typing like some deranged boomer because I broke my fingers. And so I could only use my ring finger of my left hand to type and not my pointer finger and my middle finger. So I was just typing with like one ring finger on the left and I was just going so slow. Everything was slow. And so I was MIA. And I'm also realizing that this whole thing is like a great excuse. It's a great excuse to not show up online because, yeah, it happened, but it's also not what happened. I have admitted to myself that for the last 2 years, I've been struggling with my messaging. That's just basically what's been going on. I very often I sit here wanting to talk to you and then getting into my head, just saying to myself, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to say that's going to help her. Everything needs to be value packed. She needs to learn from it. She needs to feel inspired. She needs to walk away from this episode just feeling super amazing and ready to take on the world. And then the bar gets so high that I just shove my computer and go do something else because I'm like, I can't live up to that. And I keep going back and forth especially in the beginning, so that's really like 2 years ago, I was just thinking about my pillars, the pillars, what is the content gonna fall under? Is it gonna be this or that? And then I changed those, like, oh, this should feel better. But I was just looking at the system and not really feeling the content, if that makes any sense to you. The problem with this is you need to put in the reps. Like, that's the only thing that's going to help you. Action creates clarity. It's as simple as that. And when I'm not taking action, I'm not getting clarity. But I couldn't take action without clarity. This is the circle of doom. If you think about it, it's super very simple. Like, the best of the best are not just lucky, they put in the reps. I'm a Swiftie. You know this by now. If you've listened to me more than once, you know I'm a Swiftie. And I've always said I'm a musical Swiftie. I'm not at all interested in her personal life and what she does. But there was one thing in her personal life. Okay, two things because cats. But there's one thing in her personal life that I was very interested in, and that was her prepping for her Eras tour. Because what she did was brutal. 6 months before the tour started, she started on a treadmill. I think she did this every day. Maybe she took a few breaks, but let's say that she did it 5 times a week at least. She stepped onto a treadmill and then she went through her entire 3 hour set. 3 hours, I kid you not. But then again, this is her job, so she could spend 3 hours each day. But for the slow songs, she used to like walk and sing. And then for the up-tempo songs, she would run and sing just so that when the Eras Tour started, she would have the stamina to roll around on stage and actually be able to sing her songs without needing to catch her breath every 2 seconds. Imagine doing that for 6 months, every day, 3 hours. Like, that's insane. She put in the reps, is what she did. Because what if she didn't do that and she just stepped out on stage the first day? This is actually what she talked about, that she did that for previous tours where she would not be so prepped as she was right now. And then for the first half of the tour, she was just hanging on barely. And then the second half of the tour, she would be up to par with her own breath work, basically. And so now she started previously to putting in the reps. And I was like, yes, that makes so much sense. And here we are looking at our content, being spotty as fuck, because I do this. I create content for a month and then my VA just goes, yay, there's content to plan out. And then I show up online for a month. And I always figure this. If I plan out for a month, then halfway through the month, I can just sit down again and plan out more content for the month afterwards. And so I can always stay consistent. But I never sit down after 2 weeks because after I've painstakingly pooped out content for a month, I am so exhausted by it that when 2 weeks pass, I just go, oh, never again. I don't want to do this anymore. And then, so then I disappear again. And I keep saying, oh, it's so hard. Showing up online is so hard. Yeah, it is. If you're like stopping and starting, that just doesn't make any sense. Yesterday, I talked to my aunt and I was telling her about the business. She is she's an ITer. She was an ITer before her retirement, so she knows a bit about digital stuff. But in general, she's a boomer, like all our parents probably are. And I explained to her a bit about what I'm doing, and I was telling her about why it's going so slowly, and that I'm currently focusing a lot on podcasts, on YouTube videos that I want to make. I'll get back to that in a second. And mostly that I would really like to speak as a guest on other people's podcasts and invite guests onto mine. Because for me, that's where the magic really happens, is when you get into a conversation with someone and you get to spur each other on and you get to go deeper and you get to really get to the core of the conversation of what's going on, what people need to hear, etc. I love doing that. I really love doing that. I basically casually dropped a sentence halfway through that conversation where I said, you know what I really hate? I really hate making short form content because you have to pour everything into like a 5 second something that has to have an attractive hook and it needs to reel people in immediately, but it also needs to provide value and it needs to entertain and it also needs to similarly attract people so they can click the follow button. And that's a lot of pressure on a 5 second thing. I really hate creating short form content and I just really would love to focus on the speaking and stuff like that. And then we talked on for another hour and I thought nothing of it. I continued with my day until I, the next day, sat down. No, I don't even think I sat down. I just, epiphany, an hallelujah moment, eureka. I just realized what I said to her about really hating short form content and really loving to go in deeper. And I realized, what the fuck am I even doing on Instagram? Why does my brain automatically revert back to Instagram when I think of social media? A while back in October, I dare admit, I spoke with my mentor and sometimes coach, James Whitmore. I'm in his training program for coaches. And during that training, he coached me on something, and it was on attracting an audience. And basically, the outcome of that coaching conversation was that I said, okay, I'm going to go all in on YouTube. And then I posted 2 videos on YouTube, 2 whole videos. Because every time I go and sit down and I just go, okay, I need to make content for YouTube. And then I block because my brain automatically goes to, okay, I once heard Alex Hormozy speak about what the intro of a video on YouTube should contain, something like pain, promise, and person or something. It was probably a P. Like, why are you the person to talk about this? And then I sit down and I go, okay, so I need to really create this intro and really make sure that it counts. And then I need to, okay, these are the points that I want to speak about, and it needs to get to a logical conclusion. And this needs to happen here. This needs to happen there. And I have a bunch of videos worked out like that, but then every time I sit down to actually record them, I revert from that sort of script. I don't want to work from a script because I don't want to sit here just read out something to you. That's super boring to look at. So I write down bullet points, but then I'm afraid that I'll veer away from the bullet points and then I'll lose the linear flow through it. And so there's a few things that are happening here at the same time. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have used the wording sit down multiple times now. This is what it feels like for me to create content. You have to sit down and really focus and really put in your effort and then push out content. Like you sit there and become a content machine. And that feels so stagnant and stuffy and shitty to me that I even shy away from it in the first place. So, what I did to fix that was I went on a walk. I went on a walk and I talked to Claude and I said to him, okay, I am just now going to talk to you about stuff that my audience needs to hear. And you are going to distill some subjects from it for videos that I want to do. And if I talk about it, you'll write down like the wound that she has that I want to speak about. Or if you maybe hear a great hook, just write it down for me. And I went on a few walks where I just talked to a robot and the robot summarized it for me greatly. And I was like, this is really nice. Now I can skip the part where I sit down and think because my thinking comes when I move. I am an Aries moon. I need to move before I do stuff. And that makes sense. So this is the first part for you to think about if you're showing up inconsistently online right now is how do you think? Where do you think? Is it in the shower? Go take an extra shower. Go take a bath, but take a notebook with you. Go swim and have a notebook on the side. That's maybe waterproof. But you know what I mean? Just figure out how you think and then use that to actually think through it, talk through it if you need to. Have a friend take notes, drop in a voice note and then read through the transcript. I recently found out that the voice memos on your iPhone automatically give you a transcript that you could copy into your AI if you don't want to talk to your AI directly. Fine, but just talk it out, write it out. If you are a listener, talk it out first and then listen back and see what you can figure out from it, But just make sure that you get it out in a way that's most natural for you. And then there was something else that was happening for me. And this is the whole short form, long form content. What happens for me is I am a rambler. I'm a rambling person. And I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying, you know what? The problem for me is that I always want to make those kind of scripts. And I see this happen for a lot of people who want to make podcasts, who want to make videos, anything that's longer than 5 seconds. But you feel that you need to have a script. I am in several Facebook groups for podcasters, and there's a lot of questions always around like, how do you read your script naturally? What system for your scripts? Lots of questions about scripts. And I think that's why I also revert to scripts. And I was talking to my friend and I said something along the lines of, I am just a person who speaks chaotically. That's who I am. I will never tell you a story directly from A to H. I will tell you a story and I will jump from A to G, revert back to C, just get out of line and throw in an R and then maybe get to H. But in the end, I always make a point. It just takes me a bit to get there. I just don't go there linearly. I'm not someone who has her speaking points lined up in military order in her head. I usually go ramble, lose my train of thought, and then realize that I lost my train of thought and then just sort of internally go back to like, what was I saying? Oh, right. And then I'll drop something that's actually valuable. And I said yesterday, I said to my friend, I need to trust myself that the punchline is going to be valuable and profound. I am valuable and profound. And I started laughing. I was like, no, okay, say it again without laughing. But it is true. Like what you have to say is valuable to someone out there because that's the reason you have to say it in the first place. That's the reason you started your business is because you have something that's valuable to someone else because you have something that they don't have or don't have enough of or could get better in and you're there to help them. So whatever you're going to say, it's going to be valuable anyway. So why not just trust that? And so I realized that I could just do that. I can just go out into the world and ramble and trust that I will make a point. Because imagine if I went through my entire life like this, just rambling, but never actually making a point. I would have learned to stop rambling a long time ago because in the end, you want to make a point. Yeah, otherwise, you can't have a proper conversation with someone. So that's what I wrote down on a post it that's now on my screen. Trust the ramble. That's what I'm doing, trusting the ramble. I'm trusting that I'm talking all this out for you and that you will find something in here that's valuable for you, that you will find something that you needed to hear. And this is actually something that's beautiful for me because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of the teachings that I get from James mostly. If you don't know James, check him out, James Wetmore. He is opening his program this June and it's absolutely brilliant. I'm not yet an affiliate. Maybe next year, if I were, I would promote the shit out of it because he's brilliant. Go check him out, James Wetmore. He has a podcast as well, Mind Your Business. It's called the podcast, not Mind Your. Well, you get what I mean. Yeah, so here I am. I actually lost my train of thought. Yes, I was saying that I listen to a lot of teachings, whether they be podcasts or audiobooks. I gotta love audiobooks. On Spotify, there's a great one. Sorry, I'm just gonna give recommendations now. It's Unleash the Power Within from Tony Robbins, and it's on Spotify, and it's super super great because it's actually a condensed version of the seminar that he does. So you get the valuable information without the jumping and stomping and rah rah Tony Robbins. It's really good. I have listened to that audiobook, I don't know, 10 times by now in the last year and a half. That's a lot. Every time I listen to it, I hear something else. There is something else in there that I apparently needed to hear. And the same goes for podcasts that I save and go back to. Every time I listen to it, there's something in there that I just haven't heard before or that lands differently. So that's what I need to do as well with my content is I need to trust that somewhere in this ramble there's something for you that you needed to hear. This is why beforehand I always tune into the universe and just say, okay, I'm going to say something. Please make me say something that's valuable for my listener. And I trust that it happens. That's another cool thing about all this. But there is a punchline still. And the overarching thing that's happening here, the umbrella of why I have been so inconsistent in showing up online is simply this, and it's ironic as fuck because this is what I teach. This is actually what I work on with my coaching clients. Is create a business that is 200% you. It's completely aligned with the way that you are, the way that you work, the way that you think, the way that you behave, the way that you move. It's basically what I was just talking about. Figure out how you think and then work according to that. But that applied to your entire business, your entire life. And guess what I did not do? I did not work completely as myself on my marketing at all. I have been trying to, well, not show up as someone else because it's always still me beneath all the content, but in the systems and in the way that I think that I need to show up, like talking linearly, showing up in reels because I think that my audience is going to find me there and looking there. Oh, you know all this. I don't need to even write it out for you because we are getting shiny objects thrown at us left and right all the time. So you know all the things that people say that you should do. But is it you? Does it fit you? And that's what I realized, that I have been trying to show up as someone who speaks normal, who speaks in a normal linear fashion. And I'm not someone who does that. So why even try to be someone that I'm not? Doesn't mean that I don't like to get better at it, that I don't like to become a more cohesive speaker that people listen to and just go, oh, this make a lot of sense from A to C. It's just, this was very comforting to listen to and not just sitting there going, I wonder what she's going to say next. But you know what? It'll take time. And there again are the reps. I'll get better at it whenever I put in the reps, but I'll never get better at it when I try to fit in some kind of system that I thought that I should do, but the system isn't even me right now. The only way I can get better at it is by putting in the reps. And I can only put in the reps if I work completely aligned with who I am. And right now, I am someone who rambles a lot. So, are you working completely with who you are? Is basically what I want to ask you about your content creation today, because that's what we're talking about today. The solution to showing up inconsistently online is just taking a few steps back and looking at your process and thinking, where in this process am I acting as someone that I'm not? Is it the system? Is it maybe you don't want to be on camera? Then don't be on camera. There's a lot of people out there. And until like, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe, hardly anyone showed up on camera, and still the economy worked. People made businesses work before social media happened. You could still run a business without appearing on camera, without speaking, if that's something that you don't want to do. You go write. There's a lot of spaces you can write. There's a solution for everything. And if you take a few steps back and you look at your system, just let's call it a system, for your content creation system, and you look at it and you go, this is where I always get stuck. And this is the reason that I then fall off the horse and not show up anymore. Put it under a magnifying glass. Why is it that you're getting stuck? What is in that system that is not aligned with how you think, how you work, how your creative process goes? And when you look at that, you're going to solve your inconsistency. This is new for me. Like, I embraced this literally yesterday. I was talking to my friend on voice notes while my kid was on a horseback riding lesson. And during that lesson, I had this epiphany where I was like, I trust the ramble. Just trust the ramble. And I opened my notes and set out to write a Substack post because I said, you know what? Fuck Instagram. Apparently, I'm looking forward to creating long-term content. So I set out to actually write a Substack post, and I trusted the ramble, and it was a very good post. And I posted it today without even editing it any further. And I was like, if content creation can be this easy, then I can be consistent. That's amazing. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to share this with you and hope that you can look at your system that way too and find where it is that you are hesitating and really look at it just from all angles. If content creation is maybe not the problem, but you are still not making the momentum in your business that you would like to make, I have made a little quiz for you to take and find out where it is that you are actually getting stuck. Maybe you're not even seeing it where it is, but there is somewhere that you're not getting the momentum that you want. I want to say go take that quiz. Fuck it, unblock it. That's what I call it, of course. I have to swear in my freebie titles. It's just preparing the good people of the world for the potty mouth that I am. Fuck it. Go unblock it. The link is in the show notes. The fun thing is, you don't even have to put in your email address to get to the results, because I hate it when people do that. I just want to get to my results. And of course, if you want to get more in-depth information on how to move further on the block that you'll find, then I'm going to ask you for your email address, because I have a bunch of emails for each block that you can encounter. And hopefully those emails can help you get through it. So if that's what you want, you can. And if you just want to click a few questions and find out where you're blocked, go do that. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to the ramble, sticking through the ramble if you're still here with me. And I sincerely hope that, well, as I said, that there is something in this podcast episode of today that is going to help you further, that it's going to be something that you needed to hear today. If so, well, I want to say come say hi on Instagram, but please don't do that. I'm trying to move away from it. Just tune into the podcast again next week, okay? See you there. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Not That Kind of CEO. If this episode gave you clarity, encouragement, or just even a moment to breathe, I'd love it if you left a review. It helps more women like you find this show, and that means the world to me. And if you're ready to build a business that fits your life, you know where to find me. See you in the next episode.